Lagos, I believe Lagos we are going to compare Lagos and London. Yes, in 10 years' time, you will see people from London, England, Ireland would like to come to Lagos to come and have their holiday.
Hey guys!
Hey, hello.
That was net energy.
There was.
Net energy crew.
Let's say it again.
Okay. Hi guys!
Hello!
Hi!
Woo!
We are here for the 3rd release of seasons. We are in a new season. Yeah. Valentine. Valentine. How's the song going? Where's your boyfriend? Where's your boyfriend?
You don't have nobody. Me every year.
Girl.
We're still in a lockdown.
Yes.
Dun dun dun.
Yes.
London's been fun, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's great just being at home every day. And like, you know, the days just roll into each other. Sometimes you don't even know. You don't even know what day it is. You don't know. You know, time.
Yeah.
It means nothing.
So transcendental, you know, really.
Doesn't 2020 feel like a bit of a blur?
Definitely.
2021 has been more like 2020.
No difference.
So excuse the damp intro, but yeah. Not been great, has it?
Yeah.
But hey, we're joined today by the one, the only
Rukaya.
Hey.
Introduce yourself. What do you do?
Yeah, let the people know.
Let everyone.
I'm a sex educator, writer, speaker. Yeah, that's what I do. And yeah, so I speak a lot about sex, relationships, sexual wellness, sexual health, all of that. So yeah, I'm big on like sex positivity and kind of like just redefining, you know, sex education and stuff like that, because I feel like growing up, a lot of us didn't get the right knowledge when it comes to sex, and we've had to kind of learn the hard way. I definitely learned the hard way when it comes to sex, and yeah, it's been one big learning experience. So like, I just feel like more people need to be open about these things, so it's a lot different in the future for the young ones, and we can have more ethical, more healthy, we can have a more healthy approach towards sex and intimacy and stuff like that, and pleasure, you know. So yeah.
So you're obviously amazing, and
Thank you.
loved watching just every step you've taken, and just
Oh, thank you.
There's gonna be like an app so people can go and check you out.
Yeah.
Cool.
How do you reconcile being Nige, the uncles, the aunties, then the culture being potentially on your back, judging you, projecting?
Yeah.
I don't know how many more buzzwords I can throw out there.
Interjecting.
Like, it's a lot, I can't lie, because like when I used to be active on Facebook, I would have aunties go to my mum and like report like pictures that I might post and stuff like that, and like it caused quite a bit of issues until one of my mum's older friends must have told her, listen, you need to stop letting people tell you about your daughter's business. It's got nothing to, you need to tell them that it's none of their business, and like kind of, you know, stop allowing them to be like boundaries. Like, I just don't think they know about boundaries in terms of African aunties and uncles, and like even some like I have one auntie, she's just like a family friend, not like a actual auntie. And anytime she sees me on the street, she'll be like, she'll start like lecturing to me about how I need to go back to church, and you know, I need to find a husband, stuff like that. Like, come on, it's none of your business. Like, I can't lie. And then if you say anything against that, you know, you're being rude, you know, you're disrespecting your elders. So, like, that kind of stuff really annoys me in terms of the culture. And I feel like as much as I love my culture, there's certain things that need to be changed. But I just do what I do. Like, I can't really be bothered by what aunties and uncles think. I can't lie. Like, even my mum, she still like is uncomfortable with it. I think, She doesn't follow me on Instagram. I'm not gonna lie, I blocked her. But
Simple.
yeah, exactly. Like the only family I have on there is my brother. Like that's the closest I'll ever be. So like it is a lot, but I feel like it's such a huge issue, and this is the reason why sex is so taboo in our cultures, and because sex is so taboo, you don't speak about it, and then you have to learn the hard way. Not only that, but when it comes to, like, for example, I'm just going to use an example. I'm not, just for
Sure.
to prove something, but like in the UK, when it comes to like HIV, like Black Africans are have one of the highest rates. They usually tend to have the highest rates in terms of late diagnosis as well, because they're not getting tested. There's still a lot of like taboo about going to the clinic and stuff like that. Nobody's teaching you what you have to do.
Even when it comes to abuse, like that's why like some people don't speak about it, or
Sure.
you tell one auntie and auntie be like, oh, we don't speak about it. Don't or that, your brothers don't just hush. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like not speaking about things and not taking it like.
And even when I was like at work, like this was before the pandemic and stuff, and I was at like a uni. We just used to do like drop-ins, like give them information on like sexual health, where to go, where to get contraception and stuff like that. And then there was like a security guard there. That was working. He was obviously Nigerian, and then as we were like packing up and leaving, he was like, "Oh, why don't you teach them about abstinence instead?"
Yes.
I was like, number one, like boundaries once again, just non-existent. And number two, he was just like, "Oh, like you shouldn't be teaching them about how to have sex." I was like, "We're not teaching them about how to have sex. We're teaching them how to stay safe, just in case they do decide to have sex."
Sure.
Big difference. But then he like wrote down some Bible verses and then gave them to me and my colleague and told us to read them. I was so pissed off because I know like my culture and stuff like that. I'm sorry, but it just annoys me when I think about it, because I know like my culture and stuff and like what these aunties and uncles are like. Because my colleague didn't get it because she was white and she's just like, oh, flustered.
Yeah.
But I was just like,
this is different.
like,
there's more to this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just stuff like that. That just really like Bible verses. Like,
I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm very sorry you had to go through
I think with them, like they mean well. Like some of them, there's a difference. Some of them actually mean well. Some of them are judgmental.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And there is a difference in their energy. But like a lot, like some of them really do mean well. And it's like that's their framework or understanding or belief of what works and what keeps you safe. If that makes sense. Whereas it's changing for us, this new generation, because we're doing this shit. Like, do you know what I mean? Like for me, I got introduced to like sex through like porn and like through watching stuff and like go to a friend's house and seeing stuff. Do you know what I mean? From like the age of like 7. Do you know what I mean? And I think as I've spoken to friends, it's a common story. Like a lot of us have been introduced to sex in some way or another at really young ages.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what's crazy? Talk about porn. Anime was probably one of the first. I know. I don't even think that gets spoken about.
Was it hentai? I first saw it in Sex Etc.
Not even that. Just the fact of I'll be watching a cartoon and I'm seeing the blood and the gore. That's another thing. But
you've seen the way they draw the bodies, big bouncy bodies,
and you just see scenes and it'll be like, oh
yeah.
But I'm a kid, right? And it's a cartoon.
Yeah,
and
it's like the way they'll draw the body sometimes, like the boobs and stuff.
But I think as long as you've got an adult there to kind of guide you, I'm so done.
Sorry.
It's the sound effects, it's the short skirts, it's the school uniform.
Yeah. And that's
it's
the issue.
The groping and someone makes a joke out of it.
Yeah, like it's not taken seriously.
It's the main protagonist doing half of it as well. And it's like, I'm supposed to like this guy, but he's doing the most harmful.
Yeah.
Anyways, but you got it.
I was gonna say and even this really does shape how we view sex and how we view our positions in sex. Like as a young girl, I looked at these things, I looked at videos, music videos, and thought, okay, so I must be sexualized. And that's what womanhood is about. Womanhood is about being sexualized. It's about, do you know what I mean, being sexy, being appealing, or do you know what I mean?
Being objectified.
Being objectified.
And as a geezer, I was supposed to
do it.
Yeah, like it's like this is what you're supposed to like. This is what you're
supposed to want sex all the time.
And you're supposed to treat people
a certain way. You're supposed to be vacant as well.
Yeah.
You're always supposed to be vacant, ready for it.
And also it's very like, I might like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is Alex's game.
Yeah.
Don't spoil my kids. No, but seriously, like, it's toxic as hell.
So, follow up conversation. For me, I want to ask you, like, how do you teach identity and navigating and like consent and our ideas of sex to young people? Because obviously you were working in schools, all that kind of stuff.
So like consent, like we like kind of like teach them like it would be like the very basics, you know, like what's the legal age of consent and stuff like that. And then there's like this TV video that everyone always a lot of people know what I'm talking about watching this, but like there's this TV video that basically explains consent. Yeah, it's like a really...
Do I want sugar?
No. It's like, do you want tea? It's like, do you want tea? Oh yeah. And then it's like, it's just like literally like 3 minutes of just like, do you want tea? Do you not want tea? You might want tea on this day, on that day. But like, it's a great way to like explain what consent means to like young people. Yeah. And like, I also tell them about, I kind of like clear up the misconceptions of rape, because a lot of people don't understand the law when it comes to rape, especially when it comes to stealthing, which is really important. I don't know if you guys have seen Bridgerton.
Bridgerton, yeah.
I've heard of the... Yeah.
Okay, well, this isn't... I don't think this would... Are you going to watch it?
I've heard... Everyone's told me.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, like, there's, like, the scene where they were having sex. Yeah. And then he was...
He didn't want to bust inside her.
He didn't want to bust inside of her. And then she stayed on top of him. And that was a form of stealthing. But I don't really think they addressed consent in it. Yeah. But, like...
You know, a lot of people gave a kind of counter, which was, but because he wasn't honest.
It
set the premise for
something
like that to happen.
There's no excuse for that, but in that moment, that's not something that he wanted.
Right.
So that was a violation. And the thing is, I've experienced stealthing like multiple times. In fact, the last time that I was stealthed was in 2019, ending of the year. Like, and I felt really violated. That's what we need to understand, like, why consent is so important. The moment your choices are taken away from you, and it doesn't matter whether the person has lied beforehand or done this beforehand. It's just, that's just not how consent works.
Especially, I think, also the way we understand consent is developing and evolving so much. Like even when it comes to like rape under duress, like if you've coerced someone, if someone said no bare times and you're still trying to like remove panty, you're still trying to like you're coercing someone. Do you know what I mean? If someone says consent. Or maybe I've got like, I think also like, especially with this whole like concept of like not gender, but in a sense like the way that women are socialized, you know what I mean? It's very socialized to kind of like to serve, do you know what I mean? To be whatever you want to do, do you know what I mean? Or to not speak up for ourselves. I think maybe this is young people in general, like we're not really taught how to advocate for our own needs or how to speak up for ourselves.
Women especially,
do you know what I mean? Yeah,
women especially don't know how to advocate for themselves in the bedroom because they're not taught about their own pleasure.
Yeah.
If you don't know what pleasure means to you, how can you tell your partner, this is what I want, that's not what I want?
I feel confident saying that.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
If you don't know about those things. So we haven't been taught about female pleasure. We haven't been taught properly about consent. So in many instances where like a person was coercing you, or maybe they did something that was a bit of a violation, you don't really recognize it as that. So you can't even advocate for yourself in that sense, because it's just exactly like, it's only until we know these things, and that's why I always say like knowledge on these things is actually how you can empower yourself.
100%.
And that's why I even said like, even though I was stealthed, because the thing about that incident is that what made me upset was that I'm a sex educator, and how am I still falling into these situations where I'm being sexually assaulted? But then I thought to myself,
that's not your fault.
Exactly, it's not my fault. And another thing as well is that, in that instance, even though I felt violated in that moment, the fact that afterwards I knew what to do, I knew where to call, I knew how to get help and stuff like that. That in itself was was an empowering thing, and that's why I say. And the reason why I was able to do that is because I knew what to do. And a lot of people don't know what to do, and they don't understand these situations, so they can't help themselves.
Yeah, wow.
Is it cool to just literally just say to everyone, just go on your page and just check because I've seen you got like so much resources and you like unpack so many different things. Do you find that young people or just adults come to you regularly with frequently asked questions? Are there any particular myths or is there any advice that you find time and time again you're wanting people to be aware of?
Yes.
Okay.
Because one of the things when I first started talking about sex is that I was very open about my STI status. So I have herpes. I've known that I had herpes since 2015. So that's something that I'm also very vocal about in terms of like breaking the stigma, you know, kind of like letting people know, you know what, like most people have herpes, but they just don't know. Blah, blah, blah. Exactly. And like over here as well, like 80% of the world population has herpes. So like when I used to speak about these, well I still speak about it, but when I started speaking about it publicly, a lot of women would message me, and not just women as well, but men as like more people would message me asking me, you know, how do I deal with like the
symptoms,
or like how do I deal with like the stigma and stuff like that. Like I feel like I can't date again, this and that. So I have to like kind of like let them know that you know, to overcome it, you have to remove like the stigma from yourself. 100%. So you have to educate yourself on not only herpes but like STIs. Like even like for example like HIV, I used to have like a very stigmatizing view towards it until when I learned, I was like, this is nothing. Yeah. Especially in these current times, it's nothing. You get, if you take your treatment every day, you're undetectable, so you can't transmit it to anyone. You can't transmit it to your partners. And you can have kids, like it's not no big deal. But I didn't know that, so that's something that I'm big on. Like sexual health is like a really important thing that I love to preach about, and that's usually what people tend to ask me about. So yeah.
I think it's even little things like, especially in women, female health as well, like stuff like your pH. Like I think people are becoming more cognizant of it in recent, or maybe it's just as I'm getting older. But I think that whole conversation, do you know what I mean? Like stuff like discharge.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
People, like I used to be so self-conscious about discharge.
Yeah. Like it changes with your cycle, with your period cycle. If you have period cycles, do you know what I mean?
Do you find pressures put on you by men around that, or that's just a woman?
Oh thing? Yes, definitely.
It's like chicken leg.
Okay, alright. Okay.
Yeah, it's like I have a video on my YouTube channel where like I spoke about. It's basically the title of it is, you want my vagina to smell like flowers, but your penis stinks. So like,
nothing to do with me.
so like the reason why is because there's so much pressure on women to like smell kind of way, or like you know, your pussy has to be a certain kind of way. But then I asked like all of my followers to send me like their worst experiences with like smelly dick, and there was somebody who like literally said that how there was a dead ant underneath their ex-boyfriend's foreskin. And like
not even like,
you know, a lot of like cheese, like a lot of like complaints about like cheesy, you know, smegma, stuff like that, like just really nasty.
It's okay, guys. This is men's own, you know, so let's also not be stigmatise them.
Let's not stigmatise them, but the thing is
health.
Yes, but I did it to prove a point.
I hear where you're coming from. It's cool. I'm receiving.
Like no, because like I did it to prove a point. Like you can't expect women to be like fresh, you know, flowery scent. And then like when you look at feminine hygiene products, which is even an issue in itself, feminine hygiene. It's always like lemon and lavender or some shit like that at the front. It's fresh. Like fresh, you know, and it's just like I'm sorry, but. Like,
what if I want to be moist?
What if I want to be
moist? Humid.
Exactly. And it's like, guys aren't like thinking about that, you know?
Genuinely, yeah. No, it's true.
You know, like, they'll just be hella musty underneath there, and then you...
It's true. I think it also fits, again, like, with the gender stereotypes. Sure. Like, in the movies, men are these like coming home from exercise, running in the woods, and sweaty. Do you know what I mean? Whereas women is like pretty and clean, just here wearing makeup at 2 a.m.
Exactly. And that's the point that I want to prove. Like, it's not that necessarily like, you know, like that shame men for you know smelly dicks, but it's just like it's more of genitals smell like genitals. So just like how you also can't be fresh all the time, or sometimes you have blunders, or like, you know, you just sometimes you just situations that you can't control. So do women, and we can't. And it is what it is.
Do you think maturity in this instance could be helped, like you said, about with conversation from the elders to the young ones, with like, you know, people like yourself going into these spaces and educating people, but especially for the guys, do you think there's any other way to make us be better around
women?
Humble yourselves.
Humble
themselves. That's right.
Yeah, put her pleasure first always.
Tip one.
That's something that is so important. But I feel like the reason why probably a lot of guys don't do that is because they don't understand female pleasure. Especially in the black community, like it's been stigmatized so much. Like, you know, like how you have like BOCAT? Like, that in itself stigmatizes female pleasure, because now you don't want to be called a BOCAT.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's like that kind of like subconsciously tells you that the woman's, you know, genitals is something that is you know, you shouldn't put your mouth there, you know. And like, if you think about it, like straight sex is like very penis centered, you know, and it's like there's this assumption that our pleasure is centered around the penis, when really our pleasure is centered around our clitoris. So if you're neglecting the clitoris, like, are you even having sex? Like, do you know what I mean?
And what's crazy is a lot of guys don't feel they're having sex till it's that time.
Exactly.
It's like everything before that.
It's nothing, and I feel like that's the kind of like inequality that is, well, bedroom inequality. That's what they usually call it, and like orgasm gap. You know, that's another thing as well. You know,
these are economic terms. Like
there's the amount of men that is coming in like in straight sex is far higher than the amount of women that come during straight sex. So that shows that there's clearly an issue there. So sorry, I kind of went on a tangent.
No, you're fine. No, it's good. I didn't even know what I asked you to.
I think one of the questions we had as well, I think, especially during lockdown now, like, how do you think like lockdown has affected sex, relationships, intimacy, connection, dating?
It's like sex and intimacy is changing a lot, like in the future. For me personally, during the lockdown I focused a lot more on solo pleasure. So I don't know, I think it's because a lot of I'm not gonna lie, a lot of brands have been like sending me like sex toys and stuff, so it's like my collection has just grown in the past couple of months. So I've literally been exploring, because one thing that I've noticed is that in this lockdown as well, because everything is digital, like you can't really like meet people like organically, like go to, you know, usually you go to a party, you go to like a social event, like now you have to meet people online. So it's even harder because like people are very like flaky online. So you can be speaking to somebody for like, I don't know, an hour or something, and they just don't respond back to you, and it's just like you can't even rely on other people for like I don't know, like that kind of intimacy. So you kind of have to focus on yourself first. So that's what I've been doing. Like I was ghosted, what was it, like 2-3 months ago, I think, by somebody who I actually liked. I hope they don't see this though. But and I was like, that. But like I was like, damn, like what did I even do? And that actually, even though I've ghosted people as well, I've ghosted people and I've no, but it's
I was doing all of them.
No, but we've all done it. Come on, we've all ghosted people. And we've all been ghosted at some point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure, I've been ghosted.
So like but even that, it's like finding how to deal with that, you know, and just finding new ways to experience intimacy, and in terms of like sexting and stuff like that. So, you know, sexting isn't just, oh, what are you wearing and stuff.
I'm done.
Have you eaten? It's not sexting. I'm joking, it's not.
But do you know what I mean? Like, it's...
So you're talking about solo sex, and that being, in a sense, like having been magnified by COVID, does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Are there any other ways? Like for me, I find like Clubhouse, this is going to be so childish, but like Clubhouse and that as a form of like intimacy, like group social intimacy, everyone's talking and sharing, and do you know what I mean? And the ways that people commune and just, yeah.
Okay.
And you know how it is when you want to share a secret with someone on a night out with this random person. It's a lot different to trying to sit down with someone you've known for X amount, even if they're your bestie. Like, it's easier to possibly just,
In terms of like, obviously there's different like theories of love, in a sense that you have obviously the 4 love languages that everyone speaks about. Is it 5? Matting. Okay, 5 love languages that people speak about. And
words
also
of
you have
affirmation.
Yeah, physical touch.
Quality time. Gifts
And acts of service.
Yes.
Yeah. And obviously as well, like the Roman culture, which we were speaking about earlier, like you have like eros, agape. There's one more, philia. So philia is your friends. Eros is like, and then agape is like love.
It's God agape.
Yeah, it's like all encompassing love. So in terms of like the love languages, or just any other like thing, how do you see that fitting into COVID? Or like not even COVID, but like, do you think we still have those 5 love languages?
No, it isn't
COVID.
Because like quality time, physical touch.
Yeah.
And if that is your love language, then boy, I know a lot of people will be suffering, but for me, my love language is receiving gifts. And also
Amazon.
Cash App.
Super.
Come up here.
And also
work.
and also acts of service as well. So like I feel like that could be done from a distance.
Yeah.
But like I feel like my ex was definitely, when I look back, I feel like he was definitely like a physical touch kind of person, because like sometimes like whenever we would like get intimate and stuff like that, like I felt like that's when he felt the most closest to me. So I can imagine that like a lot of people probably feel like, oh, maybe my relationship is kind of, you know, because they're not close to that person and they need that kind of like affirmation and stuff like that. So I think they definitely are important in COVID, depending on what your love language actually is. Yeah.
What's your love language, Alex?
Sorry, I figured it out. It's definitely words of no, it's not words of it's quality time. Like, dash the phone away. I don't want to see, like, you know, be on time for quality time. Engage, be present, conversation, sapiosexual stuff.
Oh God.
No, what?
So what's your, I think you're okay. What's your love language?
No, it's just like when a guy says sapiosexual, I'm just like,
why?
You're one of them.
Educate me.
I just feel like
it's your mind.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah.
Do you read the 40 Laws of Power?
It's usually those kind of guys are usually the ones that like read like the 48 Laws of Power and stuff like that.
However, if you're there,
rich dad, poor dad, you know.
Do you invest in stocks? Do you have crypto?
I'm feeling attacked again. No, but seriously, tell me. I do think men can detach and just do what they're doing. But I do think a lot of us have turned off the on and off switch of our emotional something. So even if we feel a way, we're not even going to articulate that we're having a proper, shout me if you want. Like, no, you want.
You can come see me if you want.
So, I don't know what my point was, but just that a lot of us are turned, like a lot of us do require more than just front and back to, but we won't, because we're always looking to the next man as, but he would, and I'm supposed to, and this is gender normative, like I'm just going to, I think a lot of us put on bravado and we just do way too much. And I think really and truly a lot of us are craving real connections. Like you'll see so many men will be like, no, it's calm, it's alright, don't worry about it.
Yeah, but really they are, yes.
In the same way, oh yeah, come down if you want, or oh you need to go, yeah, that's cool, like I don't even need to talk. I don't know how to explain it. And then we're just taught that it's all about the physical act, and then even then, like, no, don't kiss her after, or don't hug her after because she's gonna. It's the dumbness is that. Also, I'm just gonna call it out. I do think black men and white men are taught different ways of loving. Our mums don't really come, you right? Don't worry. We don't really get that. Whereas certain men will be saying shout out to their mum and their mum's still cooking dinner.
Exactly. Yeah.
Their privilege is there. They will make a man be more gentle to a woman who potentially mirrors your mum, or I don't know, it's just different. Whereas us, some of us are still dealing with, mum was never around, or mum always used to beat me, or why are you trying to be bad? Like they're talking to the woman, like, why are you talking to me like that? Or I don't know. I think we all need to do better.
I think so for me it's really an important question about like, so where do we learn to love? And how does that impact how we love? Does that make sense? Like, cause similar, like for me, I think my parents' relationship is like, they're very much two separate people living in one household. So when it comes to how I approach love, I'm just very much like, and also again, like, I've had many experiences with like sexual abuse from a very young age, from like primary school, do you know what I mean? Up until 16, 18, and even continuing things that we just ignored, do you know what I mean? Like, everything contained has influenced the way that I approach relationships. Like, stuff like monogamy, stuff like fucking...
Are you polyamorous?
No, but I definitely do respect... In terms of polyamory, I think... I don't know if I could be in, like, exclusive committed relationships for a long time. Like, for me, that... It just seems like a lot of work. I've got stuff to do. That's kind of like my thing. But for me, it's like I definitely understand this whole concept of like love and it just being open and it just being free and people just allow us to be human beings. But then again, where does safety fit into that? Where does real emotions? Where does building a family? Where does all these different things fit into it? I don't think society has got to that point where we are able to fit those things in.
I think you can.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like,
not me.
I'd like to see like great examples.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Because I feel like polyamorous people are like way ahead of society when it comes to sex and relationships because they have very ethical approaches towards relationships. It's all about communication. Like that's a big thing, and like even like. Addressing things like jealousy, because I follow quite a few polyamorous sex educators, so they speak a lot about this and like how like normalizing jealousy, like it's actually normal. Like you can't really expect it, like even though you are polyamorous and stuff like that, like there are going to be moments where you do experience jealousy, like especially, you know, maybe if you are like I know they, for example, like if there's your partner has like a nest, so that means that they have like a primary partner, you're like the secondary partner. Sometimes you can experience like jealousy and stuff like that, but it's normalized. Like it's something that you have to like, you know, actually face and stuff. And I think that's very interesting because it just seems to be more like healthier outlooks on relationships and stuff like that, and like big on consent, big on all of these things. I love like the polyamorous community, honestly, because I learn a lot from non-monogamous people.
But
I was going to ask, what are you guys, in terms of like, how is life, like what I was going to ask you, like where has your love come from? Where does your understanding of love come from?
Because we don't know. I don't know what your
Yeah.
I can go first.
Yes, please.
So my whole situation, like my parents are going to like almost 40 years of being married. It's this whole idea that they were in Nige, came, were like, we've got a plan, stuck to that plan for literally 40 years. You see simple people that can't do 4 weeks, 4 months. No shame, no judgment. But I've always seen that as the archetype. That's always been the work towards that. So funnily enough, I'm not really for the streets like that. But you can also be carried away in the stream of life. Situations, your circles, the propaganda, like communication is important, and if all you've been communicated all your life is this is what a man is supposed to be, and your parents aren't necessarily challenging that because they don't even have insight into what you're doing half the time. Once you leave, they don't know what you're looking at on the internet, they don't know what you're saying, and you've not normalised these conversations where they're like, I hope you're doing this, or Mum, I think I need assistance, or Dad, you'd go to someone else who's also lost in the streets, and that's the one who'll be educating you.
You know what? For this one, I actually don't have an answer because and the reason why I say that is because like what I witnessed at home, I was actually brought up in a polygamous environment. So my dad used to alternate between our house and his actual house with his first wife. So like
in the UK. Was this an Islam thing?
Yes. When I asked him, I grew up and I asked him, oh Dad, why did you have two wives? He's like, oh, in Islam that's what we do. So I was just like, oh God, okay, that's what you do. So
fair enough.
But anyways, and like they would go to like mosque. Like everyone in the mosque knew that he's with his first wife and he's with my mum as well. And
Sorry,
no,
forgive
go
the
on.
interjection. How common is this with it?
Wow, it's a whole new world.
I was like, what?
A whole new world.
How common is it within the Nigerian British community?
You know what? I don't even think it's that common. I feel like usually the reactions is like kind of you guys' reaction when I tell people that, unless because I don't know any other Muslims where their dad was like had like two wives like openly, like it wasn't even like a secret thing. And like I just feel like I don't know, when I look at them, like I do think that they were in love at some point, but I feel like my dad is very like, he's very much a dominant man, and it's like his word is the final word, like even when me and my mum speak about like their relationship and stuff like that, I realise like some of the things that he was doing was actually quite like toxic, manipulative and controlling, and like I've pretty much come to the conclusion that I feel like maybe my mum settled a bit, maybe she felt like this was like the best that she could do, and so for me when I look at my parents, it's more like, no, I want to break that generational curse. Like the way how society is right now, there's not like this pressure to like for example in Bridgerton, like how a woman's goal is to
get married.
Get married, and then a man who supports you and look and provides for you, and you have children, and that's what you're meant to do. So like women had more of a chance of just securing a man and having kids, but now with the dating world, look at how the dating world is, fleeting and stuff like that. Like it's really hard to meet someone. I actually kind of feel the pressure myself now. Like I'm starting to feel it a bit.
Oh, what's it looking like? Is it going to be a monogamous thing?
I'm monogamous because I feel like I'm too jealous for that. Even though I know that jealousy is something that's addressed, but I don't think I'd be able to cope with a polyamorous situation. So I am monogamous. Like I do want to settle down. Like I realised, wow, like the casual sex thing. Like I used to be baby girl, like actual baby girl. Yeah, like I used to be like actual baby girl, like living my best life and doing whatever. I did not care. But then I don't know, like last year I was like, this ain't really that fun anymore. This is starting to feel really draining.
Not fun.
Yeah.
Drains your time,
exactly.
Your emotions, your energy. It's
but
just
is there something about it playing a place, having a space in most? Is it normal to have these wild, adventurous moments in part of as you're ascending?
Adolescence.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy to do it while you're young, because I personally feel like I've gotten, well, but I feel like I've done it all in terms of like, the casual stuff and like exploring myself sexually and partners and stuff like that and different people. Like I feel like I've You know, like, and I feel like I feel really content with my sex life, if that makes sense, and the history of my sex life. That now I'm at a point where it's just like, yeah, I can settle down with one person and I'll be very happy.
For me, I think I definitely wish that I would have like misogyny later and like really like wasn't like, do you know what I mean? Like so like active, if that makes sense. Like just because I don't know, I'm just like. When I see like all these young people and they'll be learning 5 languages, they'll be playing 5 instruments, I'll be thinking, it's so not me to be.
Guys.
Even like
just about boys, isn't it?
Those boys, it's not me to be reading my book, you know what I mean? Learning one instrument, I'll be famous now, I'll be playing for the Queen instead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just guys. I'm shouting. No, because even the thing is, like it really is. It is a lot, which is why I even like was celibate for like a year and a half because like it got to a point. This was like early 2018. I was just like, I'm really tired. Like this, because when you like engage in like you know, just casual sex and just seeing people, you're actually an entertainer. Like you're actually an entertainer.
That wasn't. I'm thinking like just entertaining literally, and it's like it's so like to perform all the time.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, and like you.
Sorry.
No, you're gone. Okay, but even like going on dates and stuff like that, like that is.
Yeah.
And meeting someone new, like it's a lot. It's a lot.
I was asked the same question. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Like
so.
How many children do you have?
Do you think men also are going through the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
We're all human beings.
Do you recognise that? We're all always performing for each other, even down to the bedroom. It's always like, wait, are you with me?
No, like, I agree. Like,
okay, Again, I was in a clubhouse room. We were all discussing it, and the idea, we spun all these women's heads, but the idea that men don't always ejaculate, they don't always orgasm. They don't
I've heard about that.
Mate, they
Will
were.
not be faking it too.
Wait, you? No.
Yeah.
Girl!
Yeah.
They'll be faking it too. They'll be like,
No. Wait.
Yeah. Trust me, we're all
you guys think you're
I'm not speaking for everyone.
Yeah,
but I've heard people say that still.
From the situation where you're like literally, nothing's coming, like literally like pretending, and it doesn't even need to be bare. You could just, and the person could go, have you come yet? And you could be like,
yeah.
And
do you know what I noticed? Do you know what I noticed that a guy might be like performing or like kind of hiding stuff is like when they've got like a semi or like and you're trying to get it hard again. And obviously I can feel that it's a semi, but I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want to.
Performance. Everybody entertaining everyone.
Yeah.
I really like talking about relationships and
I love talking about relationships.
Yeah, because I feel like I don't know, especially I don't know. I feel like because of like everything that's happening, like I'm quite like isolated and stuff. So I don't really get to have like the group talks, especially where there's men present as well.
Yeah.
Like straight men, you get to like hear their point of view. Like you telling me about like you guys faking orgasm. I'm not gonna lie, that's like blowing my mind. But like there was so much more to talk about. Honestly.
Yeah.
Would you do a part 2?
Yeah, because I feel like.
Get you to say it on.
Yeah, I feel like. I feel like there's so much.
Yeah, so.
Maybe we could do like lessony ones where you just go through like your content bit by bit and talk us through it.
Oh yeah, so like
talk like this and you're flashing on the screen like this.
I love that.
But anyways, guys, it's been season.
Oh no.